Hey guys, thank you so
John,
much for jumping on today and having this chat with me. We've worked together for 3 years now. It's over 3 years, in fact, and you are one of my favorite companies to work with. Tell us a little bit more about what you guys do and who you are.
Lightning Box. We are Lightning Box Games. We're an online slot provider, so mainly providing into Europe, Canada, and of course the USA.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for 17 years, and about I think it's 3 years now that we reached out to Angela. It was actually myself. I wanted a little bit of coaching as a business mentor. And that conversation evolved into Angela and looking at her whole business, and it's become a coach for her whole business. So, yeah, that's how it came about.
And as I recall, at the time, you wanted to sell the business within 5 years, and you managed that in half the time.
Yeah, that's correct. We had some a long-term goal, mid-term goal, I guess you'd say, to sell the business at the time, and to help. Angela was going to help us clean us up and prepare us for that journey. And things have happened a lot quicker than we thought. That's for sure. Yes.
It's fantastic. It really is. And your business is such a great business. You've come leaps and bounds in the last few years in terms of the work we've done together. One of the things we did was to start systemizing the business in terms of a scorecard. And with that, we run a workshop every year to set that scorecard, that strategy for the year with very clear goals and measures. And we track that every month with the team. So we really started driving accountability down into the team with the hope of engaging them and lifting their capability. Do you think that's happened?
Oh yeah, it's been an amazing change. I think instead of the business strategy just living in Dave and myself's head, we've now put it down into paper, and it helps us evolve that strategy. And we've embraced the whole team to come in and add to that. And not only does that add to our strategy and make it a better strategy because they've got input, they've also got ownership onto it. And because, as you said, we've got a scorecard to it once a month. It reinforces that's important to the business, reinforces strategy to them, and everyone's got well, why are we doing this? I remember goal 4 in our strategy is that. So there's always something to lean back on, and to help them prioritise their daily work or weekly or monthly work projects they're on to see where we're at.
Mm. Yeah, and also we've really carved out time every month specifically to talk about strategy. You have your daily huddles now, so you've got your operational conversations, you've got your strategy conversations as well. Certainly, I've seen a lift in the capability of the team as a whole. We certainly try and get them to look at the long game now, which I'm not sure if they did before. And they've really embraced it. Each one has ownership around certainly measuring a goal, and they do a wonderful job of that every month now as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting them more involved in the business instead of just the particular game they might be working on. Now they're aware of what the big operators are, what the big markets are, the impact of something they do here when that goes live in 6 or 9 months. They can see they go out, have a lot of pride in it, They know, that game's made it into the top 10, et cetera, et cetera. And they get a lot of pride in that. And they ask more questions about the performance and things that they wouldn't have asked a couple of years ago, for sure. So you can tell they're
Yeah, I
thinking
agree
about
with
it.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I remember at one of the first strategy meetings that we had with the team, and they were allowed to put forward their ideas about the company and things that they'd like to see. And we were kind of unaware that they'd be interested in certain aspects of the company, and certainly potentially trying to keep some of that away from them because it might be too frightening. But I think it's been a real great thing that they've embraced it, and that these monthly strategy meetings have become a routine, and everybody knows you've got to get your data in so that we can share it with the rest of the team. And that just wasn't something that we had done before we started this journey with you, Angela.
Well, it's interesting the concept you spoke about of it just becoming routine as well, because initially it does take work to get used to, and initially the team was probably like, why do we have to do this? It's a bit of extra work every month. But now it's just a habit. It's just the way you work. And I don't think that any of your competitors do anything like this. I mean, this is a competitive advantage to your business now, because either of you can step out of the business for a month and come back and look at that scorecard and get briefed by anybody in the business, because in theory, because we've all had the conversation that month or that past month, anybody should be able to tell you where that business is at. And that's really important when you start scaling, because so often, as the owner or the founder of the business, if you stop working, the business stops working. And the lovely thing about this is we're starting to push some of those management skills and the system for management down into the business. So if you have a 2IC, which I know you've got a bench person at the moment who could run this business if either of you got sick or stepped out, and you're lucky in the sense that there's two of you running the business, so one can take over from the other. But in many instances, there's only one head of a business. And if something happens to them, the wheels fall off. So at least now you've got a backup system in effect.
Yeah, and it's not only that we have a clear strategy and the staff knows it is, they know how we arrive at it. So they know the process of how to make these decisions. And that's key. So if they know why we're making decisions and how we come about, well, most of the decisions anyway, it's not a leap for them to reinforce that and back them up themselves. And even if they don't always agree with some of the minutiae of the strategy involved, or down to the tactics day to day, they understand their overall goal and their overall strategy, and we're all heading in that one direction.
Yeah. And that's important too. Not everybody is always going to agree, but generally, if people have felt that they've been heard and they've been able to have the conversation, for the most part, they will say, look, I don't necessarily agree with this, but I'm certainly going to commit to it. We've also looked at creating a vision for the business and getting people to see where they belong in the business. So we created a vision about 2 years ago. I know we've refined that now that the company has been sold. But one of the other things we've done, and we've certainly tried to do every year, is to get people to look at that scorecard, at those goals for the year, and effectively say, I can see how I support this goal, and then tracking it down into their personal development plans as well, so that there's a clear line of accountability. And I think, and I'd love to get your feedback on this, so perhaps I should ask you a question. So Dave, do you think that's been effective in helping people understand where they belong in the business and how they contribute?
Absolutely. I mean, those goals and strategies, everyone put together as a team, and that really has buy-in with our staff. And so every time we come along to the strategy meetings, they want to know where we're tracking to that goal, but they feel a big part of it. And I think that has been very useful for them.
Yeah. And one of the other things we've started doing is also working on your culture as well, because culture makes every business unique as every family is unique. And that's a process we started about a year ago. Obviously, we're still in the early days. It takes a lot of work to implement it. But I'm also starting to see you guys put things in place to really start living those values within the business. We talk about excellence a lot. We talk about that in our strategy meetings. We've also got family and fun, which I know is very important to you as a small business. And it's one of the reasons that I chose to work with you, because I left corporate at the end of the day because it didn't nourish my soul to actually work for a huge company, huge mining company that was essentially creating more pollution and problems in the world than anything else, or a company that produced beer. Yes, they had a lot of staff and that was all wonderful, but to me, it didn't make a difference. Whereas working with guys like you, where you're so passionate about what you do, your staff love the business, they love both of you, they really do. That really, for me, was a wonderful thing. And of course, a business that treats their staff really well. And as we've articulated those values now, family, fun, you're starting to do more and more to really reinforce that. And that's something I think you're very keen on keeping, even though you have been sold to a larger business. So do you find it's been helpful adding those succinct values in?
I personally love having the values in there. It's not something that we hadn't considered. And when I've looked into it, many large businesses have values, but it's just something that Pete and I knew what we wanted the business to be like, but didn't have a way to voice it. And I think that's where honing in on those values and like literally putting them down on a piece of paper with underlying strategies of what that means has been really valuable.
Yeah.
And communicating that to the staff and reiterating, we found we started doing that when we're in the office. Now we're working from home, and we found that fell away a little bit. And recently we've come across some examples where people have forgotten that these were values. So even though they're ingrained in myself and David's sort of DNA or brain, we've got to keep reinforcing it to staff and new staff that we've brought on, that, these are our values. And I think the best thing is to give examples of it, great release recently. We've gone out in 4 states. This is an example of excellence that we've all had as a team to get a product out on time in 4 states and launched exclusively with one operator. I mean, it was a first for us, first for SG, and a first for that operator. So, it's a great example of excellence that we spoke about recently. And that reinforces, that's right, that's a core value of ours, blah, blah, blah. So for us, it's just natural, but we just underestimate that they all just know that. Right? So the importance of these values to be reiterated, even when we're working from home, which is always going to be harder, but you can still find a way to do that. And we see the benefit, and then people talk about the next week, that was an excellent thing, or for someone else. And they start giving kudos where kudos is due to their fellow staff. So that's a great thing that we like seeing.
I've actually seen it start filtering into some of the individuals' personality as well. So one of your mathematicians, her dream is to build the best, most excellent game. And she talks about that quite often. And I know she's had a couple of wins in the last year with you, and she's very, very proud of that. So I think it feels like it's giving them a standard to aspire to as well.
Exactly, and it builds their confidence. And recently she did a video interview with an online affiliate talking about a game release. And you could see her beaming and very happy to talk about this game and proud that this game she created, and getting this feedback from this affiliate interviewing her. It was great to see, yeah.
Well, it's important that, you want your people to be proud to work for you. And I genuinely think they are proud to be a Lightning Box person. So I think so. I mean, just talk to them and you'll see. But one final question. Do you think that this work has made your lives easier?
Yes and no. Yes, it's definitely made a little bit more work for us. But like you said, it's time put aside that we wouldn't put aside if we didn't have it scheduled in every month. So it's made a little bit more work that way. But in the long run, it's made things run a lot smoother. And we don't have to re-explain why we're doing things as much. People understand, and the team are bringing up these ideas as opposed to it all being on David and myself in the past. So that's made it easier, definitely, from that point of view.
Also, hopefully, as the team grows, we're going to have those values and strategies filter through the new people that come in. I think when you came on, we basically had a few new people as well. So we were actually quite a small team even just before that. So it'll stand us in good stead as we grow the team as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully, if you do choose to step out of the business now that you've sold it, your legacy will continue in that business.
We'll be around a little while longer yet, but yes, definitely. We hope to reinforce that a lot more strongly over the coming years.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to continuing working with you.
Thanks, Angela.
No worries, Angela. Cheers.